live on the interwebs. It does look like we are, so that's very good. Hello, everyone watching later. I don't know that there's anybody here watching at the moment, but if you do show up, please say hi. Just a bit of a slow start this Saturday morning. Saturday morning for me. Nice. Okay. Okay, so, oh, no, I did this wrong. You're going to go to a black screen. I just went in as a standard start. I want to continue from where we were. So you really can't restart this. Let's go starting soon. There we go. That should be a better thing to watch while we get set up and going, so that people that get here sort of kind of know that, yeah, we're starting soon, sort of, kind of. And IKB here. Oh, very good to hear, my friend. Very good to hear that you got it up and working. I know you were sort of thinking about trying to resurrect your old one by simply moving a drive, but man, it's nice to get a new computer. You got to go through a lot of, oh, this utility or this other program or whatever that you're just used to having, you've got to reinstall. Trust me, I've gone through that a few times. But it's always nice getting a fresh, clean start. Though, like I said, it's also cool to either move your old drive over and plug it in as a secondary, or just set things up so that you can copy and paste them over to the new one. And hello, Vital D, how you doing? Good to see you here, my friend. And hello, Arno, my good moderator. Oh, I haven't made IKB a moderator yet. We need to do that sometime. Okay, we're starting again. This time a little less foggy and thinking, I hope, so that we get load the save and not do a fresh start. Because although the fresh start could be warranted from a testing purpose, I just want to push a little deeper into the game before doing the sort of actual release out to the public of TRE. I will say revolverheld has gotten 2 versions of, I just set them off yesterday, a second version of basically what I have here, so that because he builds, thank you for hosting, Arno. He builds his version of GGA, and he's also including the D-Worms mods and maybe some other stuff, inclusive of his mods, and it sort of sits on top of TRE. TRE sits on top of Black Ice, and in that, what is primarily sort of talks about is that there are particularly files in the common folder that Black Ice has changed, and then I've changed them maybe just a bit, and some of them are just simply additive. I've just added more lines of code to it, and then he will take mine and include mine, and then add maybe his code to it too. So it just they stack on each other so that they all sort of will work together that way. Okay, I've been told that this is the best standard viewpoint. Let's start recording this properly. And I'll sort of yeah. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playtesting of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice and TRE Third Reich Events working together, and to see how this is going. Now, I've made changes that won't be showing up here, but will be showing up in other versions of things. So, Oscars of Austria popularity have for political crisis. One of the it's at least March 1st, 1938. Well, he was just saying that he's watching this stream on his new computer, Arno. Hey, Tippett. Good to have you here. Okay. I'm just checking things out here. So, if this playthrough goes as I'm expecting, I'm going to package up TRE, and this is notice for all who are watching later as well, TRE, and I will release it for general playtesting. Very good, cool. So, for playtesting out in the wild, if this goes fairly well, this playthrough now, I just, I don't know, is this obsessive compulsive behavior or what? I'm just sort of, that I feel I need to play the game even though it's, you know, we're not going to be actually really getting very far, so what I do in it doesn't really matter. Okay, it looks like most of the cities where we have heavy industry, we have, that's what I'm sort of checking for now. We are building, and maybe even multiple ones. So we've done that. I don't know, do I want to get next to the Polish border with them? So I am in the east here, spreading out. Some more ICs. And then let's put all these down to the bottom. And I do have an announcement for later on, but I'm going to save it until we have a decent audience here. Still figure all you guys are still just showing up. Okay, so that's good. Now, we'll go back to the political. Now, I traditionally played on this version of the map, and I like that. Maybe best, but I like that. But again, I was told that this is better for people to follow along as who's controlling what territories and that type of thing. Give us a hint. Well, don't know too much of a hint because probably too easy to guess if I gave a hint. Okay, we have the divisions. I don't really want to deploy those divisions just yet. As okay, I We are putting out more supplies. Oh, that's way effective. Okay, that's a little better. Let's lock that. And no, I am not pregnant. We don't want to deploy the troops, as they'll start to bump up their supply needs will increase for that, and then the amount that we'll need to put towards consumer goods could increase, as I say, because at least its effect would increase. For sure. We can throw another one into Nuremberg there. We'll just move that straight to the top. They're going to move everything down to the bottom. Again, that I just did. As you can see, now that we're in 37, we're actively building things like divisions and air units. Wow. So it's finally out. Y'all know I'm a woman. And my real name is Alinity. I don't know if you'd get that joke, but one of the most hated woman streamers on Twitch. Oh, we get more there. Okay. Don't know how I feel about renting movies on Amazon. As if you already pay for Amazon Prime, if you do. We give them money for rare materials. Okay, well. We're going to decline that. Okay. So, something unpronounceable in Dutch. National Settlement Agreement is what that translates to. February 18th, 1937 was an attempt to deal with the Sudeten and other ethnic minorities, but focusing primarily on the Sudeten pyramids. Basically a failure in putting the troubles to rest. There was still plenty of troubles going on. Okay, we'll also throw these in production. It's just we're getting down to having the turpits. Okay, capital ship damage. Control. They've gone through it. And I know, Count Blue, I believe it was, not liking all the new, text to have to research. And admittedly, it's a bit much. Not that I'm against it, mind you. It's just part of it is just knowing where things are, like where's damage control for capital ships? Because that is what I think we damage control. Does it say here in what section? Level 2. I don't necessarily want to continue it. That's secondary guns. Is it grayed out? Should I be looking at a gray one? And then that's fine, so I don't have to worry about that. If we're still doing it, oh, okay, here it is. It is grayed out. Okay, over here. So part of it is just finding all this stuff. They've launched the Enterprise. When I see the internet crash? No, I didn't see the internet crash. Okay. We give them money for rare materials. Okay. Build bases in Western Germany. Yeah, we'll do that. And, well, let's see. Been a week since I played this, so need to re-familiarize myself what I'm researching and what I'm not, and that we are in fairly early 37, so we want to most efficiently do 37 research. And if we've somewhat exhausted at least the things that I think are particularly useful, we can start looking at 38s. Okay, did you win $1 million? No. Don't forget to move the air bases to the... Yeah, thank you. I had forgotten. See, IKB is good for some things. One is keeping me on my toes on necessary tasks. There is a... And let's see, and I'm pausing this a little bit here, partly to talk about this event, but there's two ways to do this for the airbase type things. One is the way they've done it here is to put it in the production queue, even though it's they're putting it in at 0 cost to build and basically 100% finished. The other way is just to simply place it on the map. Why would you put it in the production queue and not just put it on the map? Or why would you just better put it on the map? Well, if I was dealing with the AI and making the event for the AI, I'd just put it on the map. There would, because of having to move it to the top, and that the AI at times will go, well, I know I need 5 destroyers and I need 3 cruisers and whatever, and stick that way down there. Stick stuff that's going to be produced a year from starting production a year from now or something like that, way down at the bottom of things that it'll get to. It has a tendency to do that, I've noticed. So I would just stick it into on the map. But why would you put it in the production queue? Well, one, it's not easier coding. It just may be the coding you know. But by putting it in, and I do put some of the, I think I do. Boy, it's been a long time. I'm starting to question myself here, but some of the West Wall stuff, or at least I think the anti-aircraft in the production queue, is because by putting it there, you get the benefits of the practicals. It reduces down your, if you want to build more, whether it's more air bases, but it's not really so much air bases, it's just your construction practicals for construction, whatever we're doing, factories, fortifications, whatever. So it helps with that. Okay, harsh troops. Again, we go in a lot, and I've looked a bit more. For the Hearts of Iron 4 version, a bit more into Switzerland. and whatnot. And I should do this for some more countries, but we got definitely see here. This is the National Front, or the front, yeah, the National Front attempt at having an SA, and they were sort of banned from wearing uniforms, but they still had the armbands and just ununiformed sort of type of things. Okay, what is Omar saying? Man, I wonder how you learned this game. I tried to learn it, but couldn't get it. Well, trial and error, a lot of failure at first, quite honestly. But it wasn't. But also, quite honestly, it wasn't that hard. And after picking, I started with the basically the base game, and then worked my way into Black Ice. But also, it's just, I guess, my wargaming background. A lot of the game feels natural to me. Um, so if I grew up playing, board games that were similar to this, and so it just felt natural to me. May I suggest you continue to run the game slowly? Yeah, you're right, Arno. I know, but part of it, quite honestly, is I don't like the pressure while talking about things of the clock going. I just don't like the feeling of that. Okay, we have a slight benefit of money here. Okay, so what we want to do, okay, well, now we're in a slight positive, but let's see if we can buy some. Yeah, see, everything's starting to pop up on me, and that's, I know I could turn it a little slower, but we're gonna get some more crude coming in. Okay, we will no longer receive money for supplies, and no longer, now that I've just spent some of the stuff, well, we'll see how that all works out. Der SA Man is a newspaper for the SA. No, I'm not going to talk about all this stuff in detail. Hello, Severus Snape. Good to have you here. You're going now. Okay, Capital Ship Raiders. Good. That's another new ship technology for me. Okay, for this version. Is it here? Or is it over here? Could be under transports. Is it? Yes, it's here. Okay. One and done. Okay, good. So will give us better chance at effectively putting out. Well, we might as well get armored cars. Capital ships to work as raiders. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if this playthrough goes today reasonably well, I don't expect any crashes, but just seeing, does it look like I need to do a lot of changes? I'm going to release a version of this so that you guys can get and do it. But as hopefully you will realize that, like, I haven't played to the start of the war or anything like that yet. Ground attack focus and blitzkrieg. Okay. Here. Okay. Oh, it opens up that. Okay, I get that. Close air support advance, which is what I was wondering why I was talking about that, but that would be. Okay. Man, I must be tired. Close air support level 1. Okay, yes, it's the prototypes. I was just wondering, and I guess so. We're now could be researching or are close air support 1937. So we'll continue that, and tactical support advance. Okay, that would be again the prototypes. I wish Well, is this? Medium bomber prototype. Tactical air support advance. I'm thinking no. Okay, it's not one of these. It's just no. Tactical. Okay, allows research of tactical attack. Okay, tactical air support advance. Improve their abilities to level 1. Does that mean this? I'm confused, as you can tell right now. I don't know if it's because I recently woke up, and I'll quite admit to that if I'm rambling too much and not making sense. It's because I recently woke up. I mean, I've been up to almost a little over half an hour now, but is it this fighter bomber prototype? Are they just because you can sort of switch some of the... No, I don't. Oh, if you're talking between each other, I don't drink beer. But yeah. So when can we expect the next Let's Play? The proper this, because as opposed to just fiddling around with this, which is what we're doing. Soon. Think weeks. Probably more than a week. Probably not much more than too much. But I've sort of decided from this, I don't want to do it live and then chop it up and put it on YouTube like I'm doing for this. So I'll probably go back to Hearts of Iron 4 content for the live thing and just make... We see ground attack focus. Okay, no, okay. Here it is. They're grayed out. This is what we were looking at. Okay, now I'm understanding. Again, this is the new stuff, and I don't know it well. Sorry. So, okay, so this just simply close air support. Okay. Now I have to wonder about this. And I know Count Blue and maybe others feel overwhelmed about this. And I have to wonder, and I hope some of these philosophical things are of interest to the viewers. Because being a mod creator myself, and I do add a few technologies, but they're hidden, unresearchable technologies. They're just granted by events. So I've done some of this. Does this, or how does this help improve the game? Having, okay, air liaisons. Okay, I get that. Close air support versus tactical support. Okay. This doesn't seem to be an either or type path. It's an inclusive. But okay, and I could see here, trying to see, okay, gas organization, light bomber, medium bomber. So I could see you focusing on one or the other if you're a smaller limited nation. Okay, I get that. But ground attack, interdiction, efficiency. These are different, this is just morale and organization. And this, that. Why not? just combine these two, and maybe not double their from an 8 difficulty to like a 16, because the higher the number, the longer it takes to research something. But you could increase this to, I don't know, like a 10 or something, or a 12 or whatever. Make it a little bit more. Things getting more than 10 is, I think, fairly rare, and I'm not absolutely sure you could even code that as I'm looking at this, but things more than a 10 is sort of extremely long, but okay. But these are 8, so you can go to 10, and then just instead of like 1 through 8, make it, I don't know, 1 through 12 or something, so that you got to go through more steps. I don't know that adding these, now it's not that these are wrong in immersion. I get that. I don't know. I think total I had. Oh, we're still talking about how much you drank last night. Well, good. Hello, Philip. How you doing? Yeah, I'm rambling this morning a bit, I'm sure. Yes, because you can't remember how much you had precisely. Hey, Chris. How you doing? Okay. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Yes. No, I've not played any of the Supreme Ruler games. I know of them. I'm seen at least brief footage of somebody, I forget who it was, playing some of them. They look like they could be an interesting alternative. I just haven't looked at them deep enough to see. I don't know. I don't know if realistic is the right term, but how good they would be. It's just one of the things that just I haven't gotten to in many varied games. Okay, infantry attacks. I've read this book. This is a period, and if you can tell, it's in German. Um, Cover for the book, and that was the inside leaf photo of Oberst Rommel at the time. And that's his. I think this is like from a signed copy that I found, that somebody was auctioning, that I found the image from, put up there. So Rommel's. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it. Have you tried War in the Pacific or any of the other Gary? Well, War in the East is the one OCB that I have played. I've not played the big campaign. I played some of the scenarios, learning it. I do intend to do a big campaign and let's play, but it just time and a lot of other, some very good, some well, from okay to good games that have popped up that I've wanted to feature on the channel. So I've put them, videos up there that just kept me from deciding to. I don't want to just sort of like, oh, make 6 episodes, because I've made, full playthroughs of some of the scenarios on the channel. And you can, again, everyone, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, and if anybody's watching over on Mixer, you should subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also check out the YouTube channel itself, and not just rely upon your and I use this for myself, whether it's your front page on YouTube, or your feed of all of the subscribed channels, what's new in them, or your alert system. And yeah, only a few channels out there I actually ring the bell to want to get notifications. So I totally understand if you don't want to be bothered by notifications. I don't push that my channel, but it's always good to check out my channel, because right now I'm putting out about 2 videos a day, or a live stream and a video or something like that a day. So as to check out the channel page to see what I'm doing there. That's the one thing I get to control. But there are there is a playlist of my War in the East videos. So yeah, for short things like that, I've done that. But I would really want to, not that I would have to like play it daily or play it super fast or release stuff. But I don't want to just start and stop another big series right now, and I haven't done the plays. Oh, XTRG, yeah, he's a good one. Historical gamer, they're also good. Well, very good, OCB. Yeah, and if we are the people, because I use, and wow, I have the new RTX voice thing enabled on my videos or my stream and recording now. And it's, if you don't know, it's an AI thing that cuts out background noise, but does affect my audio, my voice audio here. So I don't know if I'm clipping much. If you're noticing me sound a little tinny, but there's someone running gardening machines outside, and fortunately, I think it's being mostly reduced from that. But yeah. Oh, where was I? Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm just using the subscribe feature on YouTube purely as a bookmark, so I don't completely lose a channel, but I don't intend on watching most of the output. Other stuff, I want to watch the output, but it's sort of when I get ready to watch YouTube videos, I don't want notifications. And so I sort of wait till I'm ready, and then a few I do want notifications. So I very much thank you for that. And yeah, okay, updated last week. Yeah, I should maybe look into Supreme Ruler Ultimate sometime. Again, it sort of comes down to the same sort of thing as looking at doing a big long playthrough of War in the East, which, especially if you're looking at the whole front, the turns will be long, maybe even, depending on how short I want to keep an episode, maybe even not a full turn per episode. And definitely a game type that I like to play, but I don't, part of it, quite honestly, why I haven't pushed to do that, is I don't know how exciting for viewers it would be, for a niche of viewers, those that actually play the game. Some of you would like to watch me go through, like, I know I'm pausing and going through all this, but I think this is an interesting topic. That, and then it's a rambling morning for me. That, I don't know how much it would help grow the channel. It's sort of lower priority, quite honestly, because I don't know how exciting it would be. When you talk, you could hear the gardening. Oh, good feedback. So if I stop, and because a couple times I did stop and wait for my audio bar to, because I see that I'm talking here, to go down, but I would hear the gardener and it would go off. So, okay, good to know. Okay, we increased our close air support. Okay, now this is now this is the stuff I'm familiar with. Okay, we want to stop that. Mountain infantry activation happened, but we can't go on, so it's in red. And then the prototypes. Okay, and that's also grayed out. I know where those are. So, okay, on the topic of text for just text's sake, yeah, I can see that some of this is overdone. Is it a problem to being overdone? Well, some people will feel overwhelmed by it. Okay, let's start with standard submarines. I have to think with the channel. I don't mind doing videos that get few views, but they're not going to be, at least in my opinion, long series. There's a few games that I sort of owe companies because they've graciously given me review codes for some games. And a few have been out for a while or whatever, and I really do need to play some. And some of them, and one of them is like a Warhammer 40K game from Slytherin. I want to feature it on the channel, meaning have it here, make 3, 6, whatever episodes, and I'm probably not going to keep it on the channel because it doesn't fit with the historical theme, but it does sort of fit with the strategy gaming theme, which so I know, in the Venn diagram, there's going to be an overlap, of people who like all this historical stuff, but they also want to play like a Warhammer 40K strategy game. So I want to feature the game on the channel so you know what the game is. I'm not trying to sell you the game, even knowing my relations with Slytherin. I just want to go, hey, this is this game. Maybe something you like, maybe not, but just check it out, the videos, and make your decision from there. And unless it takes off, and so far none of them really have, I'm not going to pursue them on this channel, even if I like them. Okay, now I thought that was the Road Network. What is... Okay, small caliber tank guns and MGs. Here we are. It's like Fantasy General too. I've been playing a lot more of that on my own than because I put it up on the channel and it did not get very good views, which is fine. I'm not upset, but I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad that those that might be interested know the game exists and that they can, get a judgment on what it is. A second channel for sci-fi. Yes, I do want to at some time make a sci-fi channel. I would really like to do that. I've played last night as China. I was just messing my troops near the Shangzi border and it crashed. What do you recommend? Save often manually? I do. What do we have here? Road level network. Yes, we'll do this. I do is I have it set for monthly saves. Auto saves for a couple of reasons. One is simply that if it's trying to auto save and you've clicked to try to do something, you can confuse the system too much and it crashes. You're trying to click into a production window just when it's trying to do a save. And so you cause it to crash. SS medical, yeah. And so I don't, as well as possibly other things, but so auto saves as opposed to you deliberately manually saving, which obviously you're doing it when you're doing it. Oh, we're still, are we much in the red now? We'll wait a little bit. So manual saves are the safest thing. There may be other causes for the autosave to crash. So I've never really liked doing weekly autosave. So I normally do monthly, figuring that I'm very willing to replay the month that I've just lost. And manual saves are obviously a good thing to do too. I don't know if there's a particular bug that may be affecting what you're happening, Chris. Hello, Dominic. How you doing? There's all kinds of reasons. HoI 3, and then HoI 3 with black ice, and then HoI 3 with black ice, and lots of submods can crash. Like I definitely noticed if I alt tab out of this once or twice, my game becomes more unstable and I have a crash. So right now, if I needed to touch another button or get out of here, I'm going to save the game just before doing that. So if it does crash, all you'll have to deal with is a brief black screen while I reload it, and we won't have to replay it. So I don't. So there's all kinds of things that can be causing instabilities on for you particularly in what you're doing. So I can't diagnose everything. Okay, haven't played Black Ice since version 8. Wondering if it's now possible to stand as a minor against a major. For example, Poland against Germany, Yugoslavia against the Axis. Well, I wouldn't take those two. You can look at if you want to look at playing a minor trying to become a major. You can look at Benjamin Magnus's channel. He's much bigger than I am, but also a really good, not really gooder, really good YouTuber. He's become more of a Twitch streamer who also puts his videos up on YouTube. So you can watch it over on YouTube for the stuff. And I think, is Greece or Bulgaria? And he sort of conquered all this down here. Now he sort of turned his minor country. And I think he's playing currently I do watch his stuff, but I don't watch it too, much, religiously or too much. But I think he's been playing as Finland and trying to create sort of mega Finland or something like that. So he's sort of creating trying to turn a minor into a major and then join a faction, kind of like that. Obviously, very unhistorical realities that he's doing. So you can check that out. But I would say that if you can play a minor, say as Poland, and make a stand against the Soviet Union and Germany successfully, the game is broken because it is now no longer working within the realms of reality. Um, so, you know, if you're going to look at, I'm going to play Romania as part of the Axis, sure. No, it's not going to be able to defeat the Soviet Union on its own, but you might get to, have a minor, if you want to play a minor supporting role on the East Front or something like that. Yeah, you could do that. You should be able to do that with this. If you want to, they're down to just holding Fortress Madrid. Basically, I know they do have that down there, but so yeah, I think you should have realistic expectations of what your nation can do. Yeah, I still think with all of the mods, Black Ice mods, Hearts of Iron 3 is better than Hearts of Iron 4. Though I do have hopes that Hearts of Iron 4 will surpass Hearts of Iron 3 eventually. But it's going to take time. What's OCB saying? I have a lot of fun as Romania took Hungary and Yugoslavia and got real hard war with the USSR, but it was really fun. And how do I put this? In no way am I suggesting you shouldn't try to, say, create Super Romania and play that. In no way am I suggesting it's not fun to play it. It's just, it gets to the point that my interest, and after this little talk, we're going to end the episode here, but I want to give why I play these games. And after playing the old Rise and Fall of the Third Reich and board game way back when I was a child, and through to adulthood until my game got destroyed, and then why I love like Hearts of Iron is I love the realistic ideas of what ifs in history. It's not what if the Martians showed up, or what is it, Harry Turtlelove, or what, I'm butchering his last name, I think. Has some really good, and I have not read them, but I understand they're really good. Like World War II's happening and the aliens show up, and so Hitler, Stalin, and Roosevelt or something create an Earth alliance to fight off the aliens or whatever. I'm not talking, and obviously that's an extreme case, but less extreme. Well, what if America's fascist, or what if the BFU? no, BUF, sorry, British Union of Fascists, takes over in Britain, and Britain is aligned with Germany. Obviously more realistic than aliens showing up in the middle of World War II. But I'm not interested in that. That is not my interest in these games. My interest is what could Italy have done different, but still being fascist Italy, still being Mussolini's Italy, or what could Nazi Germany have done different to win the war or win, their war. That is World War Series. Thanks for the link there. These books absolutely are. No, thanks. No, I've not read Henry Turtle Love. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Or Harry, not Henry. Harry. Good. And so, it's what could they have done realistically different? Well, not like, oh, well, good Hitler. No, it's not good Hitler or good Germany, but it's what National Socialist history Germany could do. What could they have done different to win the war? We already sort of, and it's still of my interest, but it's why I have it, and I will someday play the U.S. and I will someday play the Soviet Union. What could America have done different to win the war? Well, I'm sure that there are things that they could have done to do it more efficiently and cost less lives and do it quicker. But we already know how the U.S. could win World War II because they did. Okay. So it's not, and I sort of need, in looking at how Germany how could they have, and if they could have won World War II, you have to realize and understand what the America was capable of doing, because just producing 10% more tanks and 10% more aircraft for Germany doesn't win you the war. I mean, it's not that close of a production margin dealing with the U.S. or even dealing with the Soviet Union. So that is my interest in these games. And so I am not saying that I'll never play, whether it's Hearts of Iron 3 or Hearts of Iron 4, communist Germany allied with the Soviet Union to try to do a joint Comintern conquest of the world. I'm never saying I'm not going to do that, but that's just very low on my priorities of playing a radical alt history game. I sort of do like playing the Kaiser Reich stuff because it's sort of a reimagined world that they've built, and it's sort of a crazy sort of world, but it's just like playing any other, fantasy game. It's fun, but it doesn't have the passion for me that this has. And so my passion is trying to play something that's historically plausible, that we go in and look at what's going on. And so I would like, whether it's Hearts of Iron 3 or Hearts of Iron 4, or War Plan, or Strategic Command, or which now, if you're looking at Gary Grigsby's War in the East, War in the West, War in the Pacific, you're looking at a fraction of the war. So you're only getting to affect the East Front. And sure, if you can win the East Front quick enough, that would change the calculus everywhere else. But it's a little different than the grand strategy. So this is more the grand strategy for me. And obviously, I like down to tactical games too, but it's a different sort of thing for me. So when I'm looking at all of this, I'm looking at it as, so I want it to be a competent, opponent, the AI, but I want the world out here to look and react as realistically as, not possible necessarily, but as practical. So I want a Greece that, if it sits, troops up here in the mountains, can hold off Italy. Because it has some bunkers, it has good enough troops, it can hold off Italy. But it's not going to hold off Germany. Or it's not going to hold off a human Italian player, say, that's going to do naval landings in, down here in the Peloponnese, or down in Athens, and come out of Rhodes and whatever, and take Greece in the flank, or do something that is radically different. I, and so we could play as, what could Italy do to win against Greece? That's a realistic thing, but I want Greece to have that sort of ability to do its um, ability to, sort of mirror historical reality. And so I don't like the idea of, which Black Ice does, is how to make the Soviet Union challenging by adding a lot of extra forts and adding a lot of extra stuff, because mainly because of the bad AI that we're facing, quite honestly. But and it's not their fault. The Black Ice people, their fault that the AI is so bad. They're sort of compensating for that. So I sort of get that, and so I get that. But I want this as historically possible as I can get, to then do the what ifs that we decide, whether playing as France, playing as Britain, playing as Germany, Italy, or somebody else, is to try to change these kind of things. And of course, like France, could France hold out against Germany? Something like that. Well, we're going to end the episode, not the live stream. All of you out there on Twitter, Twitch, and well, not Twitter, but Twitch and YouTube, just hang loose. We'll be continuing here, but those watching later on YouTube, thank you so much. If you haven't already, please subscribe and like the videos, and I love hearing your thoughts of why you play Hearts of Iron or other grand strategy games of World War II. Thanks so much. See you next time. Okay, that's good. And we'll make another episode here just in a moment. Okay, and I'm going to also read some of the chat here. Hello, James. Makes you forget about your stresses and your problems. Absolutely. And I'll give a little story about some of that. Wash your hands, yes. Yeah, okay. Well, very good, Chris. So yeah, that, like as Chris is saying, that is why I like to play these games. And they're a passion. That's why it's a passion for me. This is why, well, why don't you, whether your suggestions to play uh, well, see if you can, I don't know, Romania and create Super Romania or whatever. Well, I just, not that it wouldn't be fun and not that you shouldn't play it, but it's low on my priorities. And why don't I play as the U.S.? Well, I sort of see, especially in Hearts of Iron, and they've very much admitted it in the sort of development of Hearts of Iron 4, is the U.S. is sort of the super boss villain, or super boss, uh, character or whatever to defeat. Kind of thing, and whether you actually defeat it by landing in the U.S. or just simply defeating it everywhere else. So I sort of see playing as the U.S. as like, yeah, of course they're going to win. So I don't have the like, the passion to play it. The Soviet Union, I think, is even more odious than the Nazis. Yes, more odious. That doesn't mean I like the Nazis, but it just means that it's they're Nazis are poison. Just the Soviets are somehow, whatever, whether you die more painfully or more surely or something, a worse poison than the Nazis. So I have less, and they're just not. It's also accessibility and just not. I've had a sort of a passion for collecting uniforms and sort of the minutia of the Soviet of Nazi Germany, because their pageantry is wonderful. And I know their pageantry, especially if you Jewish or whatever, just looks like a bunch of evilness to you, and I can understand that, but I just see their pageantry of their uniforms and all that stuff is just fascinating to me, and I sort of separate that from their political viewpoints and their war crimes and whatnot. So, and Soviet Union just doesn't have the the intricacies of uniforms and whatnot that Nazi Germany does. So there's reasons I have more interest in Nazi evil and wanting to play it than wanting to play Soviet evil. Could you also instead building a big navy and build a smaller navy and have tons of naval bombers to destroy them in the Black Sea? Oh, like I like to build Romania. Okay, yep. I invest heavily in the Army and Air Force. Prepare for USSR and yes, I know. I thought Germany would be the big dog or Russia. Hello, V Galax. How you doing? So yeah, there's multiple reasons why I'm fascinated by Germany and playing it. Multiple ones, and why I like modding for it too. I have been collecting stuff, and my friend Mikhail, um, who is I'll describe him as a Russian. Maybe I should describe him as a Cossack. Does feed me very good stuff for events for the Soviets, and I've been sort of collecting them. Um, Ideas, not like they're ready to go events, but and I'll make my announcement here shortly. But just stuff that could be developed into events for the Soviet Union side of things. Um, and so, but it's also just the Cyrillic writing. It's even if I just have a screenshot of text, I can type that into the computer and at least get Google Translate to get some idea of what it says in most Latin languages, and figure out what's going on in the text of it. And obviously, I can copy and paste it, and it's maybe not a great translation, but I can understand what's going on. I can do the copy and paste in Cyrillic, but I can't do some of that stuff. So it's just trying to search, because I remember for TRE, there's a bunch of generals, though they weren't all generals. They were officers for the Russian exiled army that were either veterans from the Civil War, whites from the Russian Civil War that settled in Yugoslavia, or their children that were in Yugoslavia, that allied themselves with Germany and creating the units there, trying to do the research, and the variations of the spellings of their names translated from the Cyrillic into the English, and sometimes found it. And then I found some that I was able to copy and paste their original Cyrillic names to try to find photos of these people. And I was able to find more stuff when I was able to do that. And so just looking at that, it's my accessibility to doing research in the Cyrillic is very limited. So that's sort of why I have not done a lot of Soviet stuff, but we may do that. Okay, short barrel gun advance. Let's get this cleared off, and then we'll talk about my announcement. Okay, but I'll do that as maybe a special video. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, medium armor designs. Again, I don't know that all of this, well, no, this is the standard stuff that we've been looking at. Okay, with burning concern, they think the Nazis aren't a good idea, which is basically what it is. A new German campaign going into September. Also, just started my full. Okay, German high officers all German officers were well dressed. Germans took a lot of their no, I would disagree with the Babylonian reference there, James. I do get you sort of the winged eagle kind of for the army eagle looks sort of like the some of the Babylonian stuff, but I would go that it's much, and I'm trying to think of the sort of some of the, I don't know if you call it a sphinx or whatever for the Babylonian, from some of the iconography. I would say it's much more Roman because the eagle is Rome. The dragon was Germany, and some of the later Roman Legion standards actually featured a dragon instead of an eagle. I would say a lot of their eagle iconography, oh boy, I'm messing up this morning. Iconography, that's it. iconography is how I should pronounce it, is much more focused on Rome, I would say, than um, Babylon. I get some of your when you're saying that I do see some similarities there, but I'm going to have to go that it's predominantly Rome. At least that's my judgment. Not that yours is wrong and mine's right. It's just that's my judgment. I think that if Hitler didn't get so much into the general's work, Germany could have won versus Russia. Yeah. Oh. Figalix, I guess that's how you pronounce your name. Sorry if I'm butchering it. Yeah, there's a lot to be said on it that I'm not gonna address here. Well, you can do it. I have whole episodes, talks, and long series on Germany fighting Russia, and we'll get into that when we get there, when the proper series happens again. But yeah, Germany could have defeated the Soviet Union, but it wasn't that the generals were right and Hitler was wrong. It's more deep than that. But Hitler was a bad, bad, bad general. Um, Hitler was not a great leader. Hitler was able to come to power and effectively govern Germany. He was very bad internationally diplomacy politic. He understood Germany, and actually this was sort of because I know if you've watched enough. In my university, I took a course, a semester-long course that was just on Adolf Hitler. So I have studied Adolf Hitler, at a university level. And there was no like textbook. This was there was like 12 or 14 people in the class, and with a professor sort of guiding the studies, and everybody was sort of researching that, and I particularly looked at Hitler's rise to power was sort of my look at Hitler as opposed to like later in life or other things. But so I studied Hitler, and I have a bunch of books on my shelf about him, and I'm not like any sort of great expert or anything like that, but compared to like 99% of the rest of the world or more, I would appear to be an expert. But I don't want to try to overstate that. But I do understand Hitler fairly well, and I'm still studying him. I mean, I haven't I've got it all nailed down, but I am still studying. Hitler understood the realities of German politics post World War One, being defeated in World War One, dealing with the chaos of modern society coming into a very traditional culture. He understood all of that very well and was able to rise to power when the conditions were right. Basically, economic chaos was required for him to come to power. He understood that very well, and that he was very good with. Everything else, military leadership, crap. Politics outside of that sort of German context, either understanding the domestic politics of other countries or just understanding international diplomacy, crap at. Hitler was a bad leader in all of that. And none of this, and when I say good, I mean as an effective, not as in I approve, or a positive thing. I just mean as an effective person on that. So Hitler, as a world conqueror. See, a world conqueror, you need to, and again, I know I'm not even recording an episode now. This is what people miss when they just see the other stuff. A good world conqueror needs to be able to look at and understand other cultures. And a good example of this would be Alexander the Great, who did start to piss off to one degree or another his Macedonian base because he was putting on too many Persian airs or mannerisms and whatnot. But Alexander understood that if he was going to govern his empire, he couldn't do it as a Macedonian king. Now he couldn't also do it as a Persian emperor or whatever. It's not satrap, is a local dictator or whatever you want to call it, but because emperor is imperator from Rome, but whatever the Persian kings or rulers were called. But he couldn't do it strictly as as a Persian leader either. He had to sort of balance the various cultures that he was doing, including like Egypt, which he was actually doing fairly well within for his brief time. So you have to be an imperial ruler, an imperial leader, and do it well. You have to try to balance out the different factions, and Hitler was just too myopic in looking at the German situation always, and that's one of his great flaws. Just one. He had many of them, and so there are multiple types, but two big types of fanboys for Hitler. One, those that want to either do or want to claim to believe in his ideology, and there's definitely neo-Nazis or whatever you want to call them. Those definitely exist. And then there's also the fanboys out there that aren't Nazis, don't hate Jews, but just, oh, he was the great leader. Just he did it really well. He knew how to do it. And some of those fanboys would include Saddam Hussein. Another one was Manuel Noriega of Panama. They both had a certain level of Hitler worship, though I don't, Saddam Hussein, some elements of National Socialism, a bit more but there it's more just, with both of them, I would say, more of a fascination with what they see as a powerful leader. And so you need to sort of look at it that way. So there are, whether they're leaders or, in the world, or whether they're people living in, their parents' basement. There are definitely fanboys that believe that Hitler is some great leader without being a Nazi. They just, look at it like that. Okay, well, we're going to make my announcement video, and so you'll get to all see it live. Hello, fellow Hearts of Iron 3 Black Ice players. This is Gamer 1745, as you probably already know. And I have a special announcement. Now, how do I say this? You've drugged me back into it. I tried to get away, which is not quite true, but you've drugged me back into it, and I'm back. We're back. I don't know which one works the best, but I'm back to modding again, is the announcement. For Hearts of Iron 3 Black Ice Third Reich events. I started this week and there are a couple that were put in until I stopped myself. I actually stopped myself. I was adding in some events that I made for my unreleased and now very out of date. It wouldn't work at all. So don't ask, can I release it? It just wouldn't work with the current version of Hearts of Iron 4. Hearts of Iron 4 Third Reich events. Starting to put a few in there. And then I stopped myself because I realized, nope. We're not going to start adding to Third Reich events before I get this version that I'm testing right now. Play tested out, unbuggy, working with the current version of Black Ice 10.33 as it currently is at the time of this video. So I've there's a couple of events get added, and I had already previously added a few generals, or I think they're like more pro or NSA leaders, or a few miscellaneous things that had been sort of already sitting in my version of stuff that I hadn't been using. But so there will be a teeny bit of new content with the version that is going to be released. But I want to get the current version that is coming. This is also part of the announcement. Will be coming very shortly after this video, because so far this playthrough looks good. But as released, it will be a playtest release, meaning currently I've played, as we can see here, till March 1937, and I will, when I'm making this video after this, continue playtesting this day at least a little while longer. So obviously, haven't even got to 1940 or 39, late 39 to start the war. There could still be some major, you invest however many hours in playing it, micromanaging your orders of battle and all this stuff, and then find out that you have to start all over because there's some fatal crash or bug that you can't go ahead with, so that you have to start over. And I'll if we identify one of those bugs, I will definitely make a a patch possibly, or just or a full new release of Third Reich events for you. So yes, but so just be aware that what I first release will be unplay tested beyond sort of the starting of the first year, and I will get to the chat in a minute, but I'm ignoring that for the moment. And so we will have first a playable or hopefully good version for 10.33, and then, because this is what bothers me about various versions of Black Ice, is when they get some bug fixes, they also include improvements to the game, and those improvements to the game add more bugs. No, this is going to try to be just compatibility and bug fixes release, and then I'm back to significantly working to increase the amount of events and playable aspects, not just events, but like officers or other things. 2 Third Reich events. So we are back. We are going to do some more modding. I don't know how fast, because I am going to continue doing the YouTube videos. Those aren't going to stop, and we may actually start increasing the amount of YouTube videos. So this may take a while before you see a proper version with significant new content. So this is the announcement. This is coming. It will be there. And so I will and we will talk in future about ways to possibly support that. Everything from play testing to whatever, before general public release, because new events and whatnot, I more want to maybe let it out to a few people to have you play, past the first couple of years to see how it all works. So that's the great new announcement. So if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can even follow me over on Twitch. Like the video, share the video, comment, and keeping it as Third Reich events. And I'm not going to try to, doesn't mean we don't cover some of the same things or whatever. I'm not going to try to do what is already being done by the other sub-modders, though either in my ignorance of the sub-mod, I may do it, or if I just disagree enough with the way they've done it or whatever, may decide to cover something over it. But so within Third Reich events, and just because you suggest something, don't be upset if I don't do it, because there's a lot of reasons I may not do it. Could just come down to time. But you just some ideas you can post below. And I'm focusing more on Third Reich as opposed to other mods that I may build in future. But I'm back to modding at least a slow pace for now. And that's sort of the announcement video. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. Okay, that's the announcement, everybody. Let me read it. Let me just save this here. We've gone a long enough time that it may crash after I start playing this again. So I don't want to have to go back over it. We'll just, if it comes worse, we just do a restart. Okay. What were some of the things? I think that Hitler didn't get much into the general's work. Okay, yeah. My grandfather and his two brothers fought in the war. They all said that Hitler was the best Allied general because of this. Yeah. He definitely was a bad general, and some of his ideas were good on fighting the stuff. But that doesn't mean a lot of the generals didn't have better ideas. So it wasn't everything he did was stupid, but it definitely was a a hindrance. Thank you, Arno. Thank you. Are you going to make the Vinlo incident for? Okay. Okay. My moderator, my best moderator, I'll say it because I have other moderators that are good, but my best moderator must not really have played Third Reich events because it's the Vinlo incident is already in there, and you see it as Germany. You've hurt me. You've hurt me. It's there. You haven't played it. Oh, you haven't played it. Oh my, you haven't played it. Wow. Okay, what's James been saying? The economic more real? Oh, no problem, bro. Let's see. Before you go, take your time. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, I'm not missing some of the chats on YouTube. So he's not played it. Okay. So yeah, you haven't played it. It's the Vinlo incident is in Third Reich events. It's covered. Okay, so you haven't played. Okay. Okay. I was in the 32nd Division until Demiansk, where he was severely wounded. He didn't serve again until they scraped the manpower pool in 44 for the Bulge, where he served in various supply roles. Very interesting OCB. And I think one of you asked where I'm from. I'm from California, in the sort of greater LA area. I will say that there's millions of us here, so that I don't think is doxing me. Just because of things, I don't want to give out more specificity than that. So if just sort of my background. Yep, no, you're getting old. Yep, no, we have the Vinlo incident. It's there. We cover that in here. Okay, so now we'll make another episode here, sort of continuing on. Yeah, well, but remember, I'm already a lot older, Arno. Oh, the gaming dude. Hello. Yeah. Cool. I sort of consider myself living in enemy territory here in California. That's one of the reasons I am overly cautious about things like that. Look at the general chat of your Discord. Okay. Sometime I will. Not right now, but just because I don't want to alt tab out of this. Okay, we need to reduce that down maybe a little faster. Okay, and 80 or 58. Let's go down to like 75 or thereabouts. Okay, we are building maybe too many ships now. Okay, well, we do this on camera. Do it on, okay, well, we'll do it towards the end of this then. I'll come over to that. Okay. They want me to see what's going on in my Discord. Okay. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough or continuing testing of Third Reich events with Black Ice on the Hearts of Iron 3 engine, and we're going to continue this, and they're all telling me about memes here. Okay. So we are currently producing too much ships, in my opinion. Not that these ships are bad, and that's one thing I need to look at, because I'm reminded that unique ships might not have all the techs. Somebody wants to note that down for me to look at before the release version. And yes, I'm hearing the gardeners again. Okay, well, what do we want to build? We've got a fair amount of practicals with air units going. So let's And I was just talking to Brett yesterday, talking about efficiency and serial production of things. Which sort of reminds me, I am not the most efficient builder. I'm a bit more haphazard in building in Hearts of Iron 3 and probably 4. Okay, let's see. We're going to do, obviously here, a armored division. Well, let's come down here. We want a division headquarters for sure. Let's do German trucks as okay, we'll do armored cars as well. We'll want what's the speed difference? Oh, artillery is much faster than medium artillery. Now trucks do modify the speed, but still the base speed is important. Okay, so we have reconnaissance. We want to do a mixed support. That's really fast. So mixed support does have some engineering. Yeah, let's do that. We'll get one of those into production. And just to be a little bit different, let's come back and sort of switch that up the opposite way. Motorized infantry with a light tank battalion. The difference is just the size of the unit. To be more effective for either one of these things would have been to combine a proper brigade, if you will, of armor and a proper brigade of infantry. But we are, to some degree, still playing the, ICs. But we're going to go down to motorcycle reconnaissance to be just sort of a cheaper. So these aren't great units by any means, but they are, well, they've turned out to be almost virtually the same, though the infantry-based one is slightly, just minusculely, 0.1 of a IC more. And, well, the difference is between October and September, so this will build a little quicker. No, this will build a little quicker. So the 101st Panzer Division will build slightly quicker as well, so it's a little cheaper in that kind of thing. So I sort of run around and do that kind of stuff. Okay, we'll get those into production. So once we get through that, we will do it. Okay. Oh, I want to read this. Yes, the Nazi Party, I think, and I think maybe you're getting some of that from Glenn Beck. I think Glenn Beck overstates some of the influence that certain progressive elements within the U.S. had upon the Nazi Party, though I do believe they did have an influence. I'm not saying he is wrong in some of his assertions on assertions. Can't speak. Some of his assertions on the stuff, but I think he's overstating it at times. So yeah, and okay, his brother, the middle one, was a farmer but helped as flak personnel and firefighter. The youngest one was very pro-Nazi and wanted to be in the SS, and in 1948 he was accepted. He served the entire war in the 5th SS. And at the end, he fought in the relief attack on Budapest, right, where he was wounded. He was moved to Kiel for some reason where the British captured him, and he spent 4 years in Britain as a POW worker. Oh, very, very interesting. And yes, trust me, I understand how people got caught up in the Nazi movement, and whether they continue to be Nazis after the war, I don't know. But and some very much did. Um, but I could, especially young ones, can see that and can see that how vibrant the movement was and wanting to be part of the new thing. Okay, what is a good fort busting build without breaking historical units? Well, I think to a point, which isn't necessarily breaking historical units totally fort busting, um, is simply to have the railway artillery and attach them to a infantry division for the time being of an assault on a fort, and then immediately removing it. I don't have a good one in my head right now. I may talk about it in my unit stuff, my unit tutorials. May not. I don't remember. Um, but that is part of, because Germany definitely was doing fortress busting stuff, and I talk about it in Third Reich events. And George, one of the Czechoslovakian, or Czech, I should say now, Czech contributors to Third Reich events, very much has helped with some of that, including the Germans examining the Czech fortification, and examining also as in, let's setting up artillery pieces and anti-tank guns at different ranges and blasting at the fortifications afterwards, just as testing them. So examining wasn't just like walking around with a flashlight and looking at what they look like, but was testing them out, knowing that the Czech forts were heavily influenced to the point maybe having some of the French engineers who were responsible for elements of the Maginot Line come over and help the Czechs build their fortifications. So they knew that by figuring out what was going on with the Czech forts, they had a much better idea of what's going on with the Maginot Line and how thick the bunkers walls were. And so the Germans were definitely doing some of that. And those of you who play War Thunder a lot, some of you with me and some of the stuff, the Dicker Max and the Emil sort of tank destroyers. Well, those were, because they're sort of bigger cannon pieces, those, my understanding, were actually sort of originally in the design works as sort of heavy anti-fortress guns. They're not like the Stug, which was also sort of that kind of thing, but not specific for the Maginot Line. Not necessarily like with big heavy frontal armor to come up and take the fire from the forts, but more of a long range sniping, somewhat maybe indirect fire onto the bunkers, but without quite being a self-propelled artillery piece lobbing up and over, but sort of frontally smashing, but like maybe staying by. Oh, okay, Tippett. Good night. Thanks for being here. We always enjoy your hanging out. The Boy Scouts of Germany's youth. Yes, James Watson saying. I had a good friend many years ago. I have long since lost touch with him. But he was a boy in the Hitler Youth, and was still. I'm guessing now, like age 8 to 10 years old or something like that, when the British came and occupied Hanover. That's where he was from, in Hanover. But so he was a young boy in the Hitler Youth, and he very much wasn't a Nazi by the time he emigrated at some point in his life. Forget when. But spent more than half of his life in the U.S. Very much not a Nazi, but so I've talked to some of those, and it's not exactly what the Boy Scouts were, but in a way, and I know there's a movie that looks sort of like a comedy. I've not wanted to watch it, talking about a mother and her sons in the Hitler Youth or something. Doesn't seem like something maybe a very good idea. Yeah, and that min max thing is sort of what one of my problems I have with the Black Ice uh, mod is that they're doing too much of that, and that's partially influenced by one of the best min maxers, Oh My God. And I like Oh My God; he's a good guy. OMG or however you want to. He spells it out a bit more, but Oh My God in it, and he's a good modder, and I don't want to knock all that, but I disagree with some of the fundamentals on it. But one of the problems is he is one of the best min max players out there, at least that I've ever seen in a video form, because he has a really good. Just done one YouTube series of it, but if you want to watch some of that, it's good, and it's out of date, but it's probably still relatively good tutorial on it. Is that he sort of kind of, I think, builds Black Ice now to be a challenge for him, especially on the, Gofraz, or however you pronounce it, the super hard level. And he can defeat things very quickly in that level. So, that's not what I'm looking for in a mod for Hearts of Iron. Is simply like, all three of my remains prone until their deaths. The youngest died in 2000, was buried with a Nazi party pin on his chest. Well, disappointed to hear that. Good luck, IKB. Be safe. Take all the precautions. Wear gloves. Wear face masks. Wash up. Don't touch your face. All that kind of good stuff. Yeah, and what I normally do is go into the defines, EULA defines file for Hearts of Iron, or for Black Ice, and just manually for my playthrough reduce the effectiveness levels of fortifications. And it's universal, so it isn't giving Germany advantage, meaning it reduces Germany's forts by an equal amount. So instead of necessarily like reducing the fortress levels of the Maginot Line in particular, or Gibraltar, or Moscow, or whatever, I'm reducing overall fortress effectiveness by not less than what it was, because I do go and look at it in vanilla levels, but they're not as much as Black Ice. They're sort of somewhere in between vanilla and Black Ice when I normally make my playthroughs. So I sort of balance that out a little bit. I don't like that. Yeah, people continued their Nazi views. I mean, I don't hardly know what to say without insulting your relatives, but I think when you look at just the evilness of the Nazis, it's just so many levels. That wasn't apparent in their propaganda. A lot of it wasn't. And they tried to hide a lot of it. And so, yeah, yeah, people are free to think what they want, but when you're presented with such evil, such apparent evil, I'll talk about more of all of that when I do the series again, because I've learned more than I knew when I did my last German series. Well, the commies are worse, but that doesn't excuse the Nazis. Yeah, I could either make a quick tutorial video on how to do it or post the file up. It's just you just take in a text editor and go in and change just a few number values. It's very easy. So even if you're playing multiplayer or something, you're reducing it for everybody equally. So it makes, this, because I did that for my last, and you can go and look at it, and I'm sure it's episodes talk about like the siege of Moscow and whatnot. It's still a hell of a fight, but it's not some super hell, some super min max. I mean, it's still I'm still attacking it with like, I don't know. You have to go and look to really get the numbers, but like 10 or more divisions, and a few of them that I SR'd in some railway artillery to, and sort of min maxed and removed the transportation brigade from some of the units, because transportation brigades don't, if you're just sitting in this province attacking this province, don't help you, but left the transportation brigades there to then reassemble the divisions back to sort of more historically based decisions after the siege of Moscow. And for some of that, because they definitely brought up big railway siege type guns for saying things like the siege of Sevastopol. So just because of the way the game mechanics, to have that siege gun not part of a regular infantry division makes it less effective. And since there's a brigade number limitations, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to create a temporary, and I'm saying historical, just within the limitations of the game mechanics, of creating a temporary min-max fortress busting division. That I'm not objecting to for special cases. A Sevastopol and Moscow, they were definitely doing some fortifications around it. Big super tank ditches, I mean, as in like big super ditches. You can look, it's been years since I've looked at some of the film footage, but that you could pile deep enough to pile multiple tanks deep, try to get across it or whatever. But I don't know how effective that would have all been, with the Germans showing up with some engineers getting through some of it. Meaning, I don't know how much of it was for the morale of the Moscow people, that they're all out there with shovels digging these big anti-tank ditches, and hooray, we're going to defend our city, and not being scared, oh, the Germans are coming and hiding in their homes and maybe trying to flee, trying to keep morale up. So I don't know how much of the building was just morale building versus actual effective defense building. But and then the Kremlin itself and the city itself definitely has a fortification value. So I am saying that there was actual fortifications around it. And some of these fortification levels are definitely justified. Some of them, I think they overdo it. And so either or both, reducing some of the absolute values and or reducing the relative value of the forts, in my opinion, is entirely justified. I don't know. You have Corregidor Island, which is not all of the Mindanao Peninsula here, but I wouldn't necessarily do Manila as level 10, but that, maybe Gibraltar is getting to a level 10, maybe. I would say most of the Maginot Line should not be anything beyond a 7. There might be one or two provinces that might go up beyond that. So 10 should be very, very rare, but they're not. So there's some of that going on here. Okay. So two uncles from the Second World War, they never met. Oh, what? Coming through a lot of countries, two lots aren't known to the people. Yeah. Yeah, the loser is the hated thief, and the winner is the king. That's true. I'm gonna say what you want about my relatives, but I'm not part of. I'm proud of all who served, but whatever they may be. But I cannot say that my views would be different if I lived in Germany. Yeah, and let's see, this is fighter bomber prototypes, and I don't know how much we should talk about all this. I'm not blaming people. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm not blaming people who who, in their experience, you know, people get sold lies, shall we say. And one of the lies that Hitler tried to tell people is that he would go to a church, whether it's Catholic or Protestant, and make noises as saying he supports Christianity. He was an anti-Christian, though. He would tell lies. So, and anybody in the SS would know of the very anti-Christian feelings that the Nazis put out there. There is no proper SS men. There are people that were sort of give honorary SS things that might very well be Christians, but proper SS men were anti-Christian. And not that you can't be anti-Christian, obviously, but it's sort of the lies I'm talking about, the lies that Hitler told. So people believing the lies, I understand, because they have no necessarily evidence at the time different, but sort of post it, and afterwards, after they saw the terribleness of the Nazis, that's where I start to twin engine armament. Okay, start to really have problems. Doesn't mean I like the Nazis. Is it grayed out? What are we looking at? Twin engine. Oh, it's this one. Okay. Yeah, 1938. We'll stop that. Not that I'm don't have problems with Nazis at the time, but I just understand better, shall we say, that people are buying into the lies at the time. So I'm against those people and against that stuff, but I don't have necessarily great hatred for them. Well, no, and I sort of glossed over it with burning concern that the Pope gave talking about the Nazis and how the Pope was anti-Nazi. So I don't think he had the Pope on a rope, if I'm getting your sort of joke, but meaning single engine armament research. Burning Sunder, or whatever, however you pronounce that, with burning concern. And a very, very good book that I would highly recommend on the sort of subject is oh, now that I oh boy, gonna have it. It's not Hitler. It's Hitler's Compromises. That's the book. Hitler's Compromises talks about in detail, as much detail as they can sort of get into, is Hitler and the Nazis dealing with the Protestants and the Catholics parts of Germany, but heavily dealing with the Catholic part of Germany, and how they were having conflicts with the Catholics down there. Yeah, and we often talk about positives that the Nazis did, like building the the Autobahn, but they also got rid of most of the slums in Germany. But then again, if you had birth defects or you were becoming a burden on the state, they would kill you and put you in a crematorium. And there, again, from Hitler's Compromises, there are accounts of somebody like living in a small town who was disabled and was going to be taken away, and going around to his neighbors saying goodbye to them, and they were saying goodbye to him, and basically knowing he was going off to be killed in a hospital, environment. And so they were, would take away the useless eaters and kill them. So and these aren't what the Germans would call subhuman beings of either Jews or Slavs or whatever. No, these are Germans. And so they're some really, really dark things that were going on that, so any of the good, getting rid of the slums, building the Autobahn, doing a lot of modernization for Germany, doesn't balance out all of the straight up evil that was going on at the time. And so, it's whenever I might talk about, somebody can definitely pull out of context something, oh yeah, building the Autobahn. Sweet. Gamer says Hitler was all right or justified because they did some good. No, doing doing a little bit of good and then lots and lots of evil doesn't justify the evil. It's just recognizing that there were positives. Yes, it wasn't everything bad. You can't have TDS for Nazi Germany. You need to understand when it was good, when it was doing something positive, but that doesn't mean that it's good justified as bad. Though Trump is not evil, though I did use the TDS thing as a comparison, just that these people. Trump talks about a medicine that might cure coronavirus. Whoa, must be bad. Trump talks about bad medicine. Somebody dies from the medicine. Well, yeah, if you overdose on the medicine and they've known for years, specifically, and not just the fish tank cleaner that some woman gave her husband and maybe herself, but they've known for years that either long-term exposure to that medicine or very high doses of that medicine will give you medical problems. They know that. That is a known thing already, and like I say, known that for years, and doesn't automatically cure everything in all cases either. They know in the coronavirus, they know that, but no, the news media is just wanting to slam Trump because Trump. Artillery carriage designs. Okay, good. Now, does that open up? That's a 38 technology. Well, we'll do that soon. Let's look down here at operational. Okay. Lots of 37s. We're doing special foreign unit combined arms. We'll do mountain unit training first. And we have, okay, more fighters that we're able to do. Very good. Okay. And yes, we're going to put all these ships below the fighters, but I don't want the fighters above the other production, particularly the factory production. Okay, how are we doing? 87, 157. Okay, well, we've got lots of steel coming in. We might even actually need to do some of that. Yeah, that's also what James is saying about all that the Nazis did was wiped out. Well, not literally, because a lot of the Autobahns survived, and some are, I think, are maybe even still around today in a not terribly altered form. I don't know, but I think many of them are more modernized, widened, whatnot. But the even if, again, I'm not saying it's good, but even if you believe the racial theories and the religious theories of Nazism, you believe that you believe in them, and I would say the racial theories are heavily debunked with modern genetics. Now, you could still be a racist with modern genetics, but the theories that the Nazis promoted are have, I think, science has proved that they're bunked. Now, of course, a proper Nazi would say that's all Jewish science because it's not Nazi science, so it's all Jewish science. So I guess you're probably hearing the leaf blower or whatever the hell's outside. Sorry about that. Yep, it's a leaf blower. So the racial theories, I would say, are debunked with they would call it, because it's what I've read, they would call it Jewish science as a way to discredit it, whether it was actually done by Jews or not. But it's, I think any modern geneticist would debunk the Nazi theories, but you can still have modern genetic-based racism. But even if you believed all of that, even if just the ineffectiveness of Hitler and the Nazis would show it up to be bad to support that. What is the dude gaming saying? Saying that they built some stuff is just so it's okay that they slaughtered Jews and non-Jews alike for living space beyond. Yes, absolutely, and I don't want anybody to take anything I'm saying positive in any way balances out all the evil that they're doing. He is funny and weird, just like George W. He was all these people speaking troubles and had gestures just like W, but he's your leader, not mine. So yeah. No, it's not a minigun. Definitely not a minigun. And well, fortunately, no one's shooting a minigun outside my window. Little miniguns are cool. Well, one thing I will say, a lot of the foreign media distorts Trump because a lot of the American media distorts Trump. So I don't blame other people from having a distorted view of Trump because, again, they're listening to the lies. And we don't want us to keep doing mountain training. Okay, well, why did that? Oh, no, it's just red. Okay, it's not blocked. It's just we're not in that. What did we just get? Oh, bomb development. 1000K bomb development. We've lost high that's it. We've lost high popularity, so we're down on medium, so we don't have some of the benefits of high popularity. So that's why that went to the red. Okay, that makes sense. Well, we're not getting our rightful amounts of research. Let's see if we can interest let's see if we can interest the Soviet Union. They got lots of money, and because we'll need to over into buying supplies. And Germany definitely sold things that could be equated to supplies to the Soviet Union at this time, and definitely even more so after the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Yeah, I've seen video of them firing at night. I've only seen, I think, one firing at a time, live and in person, and it was not at night. Okay, build air bases, yes. And before IKB says, I'm remembering to come down. Mostly remembering because he said last time, though I know he's on a grocery run right now. Move them to the top. I always worry about what I say because either somebody new to the channel and the videos won't hear what I've all said before, or somebody else will repost or something, take it out of context, what I say because of things. Well, I think Trump is doing a very good job. I don't agree with everything he does, and I definitely don't agree with everything he says. This is what some people have got to get over. Trump said something. A lot of times Trump is just saying, unlike other world leaders, he just says what pops in his mind. Oh, we should do this. And then people talk to him and go, no, that would be a bad idea, banning those guns. Oh, because of this. Oh, yeah, okay. We need better background checks. And well, better. Yeah, we need better. You mean better? Oh, no. And then he'll come off of it because he realizes that what some people saying is better about gun background checks doesn't really make it better, just makes it stupid harder or something and not just more effective. So don't pay attention to what Trump says. Pay attention to what Trump and or the government actually does. So whether he tweets something, and especially if he retweets something else, he just sees their one tweet and may not get a whole bunch of other context around it. Oh, he's retweeted a racist. Well, he may have not known because it's just something that appeared up in his, or somebody tweeted at him or something, and he didn't know the rest of the context. So, and then the news media runs around it. Yeah, he just retweeted a damn thing. How many things have you looked at and saw and then realized later maybe, oh, well, this is some lunatic was saying it. And you didn't realize that it was a lunatic that said something reasonable once. Because even lunatics get things right once in a while. So, yeah, you have to sort of, yeah, oh, well, yeah, but see, Trudeau, here's the difference I would say with Trudeau. I do sort of follow it from a distance, and Trump. A lot of Trump's stupid stuff is either Trump being Trump the salesman. This is either whether it's about himself or about America. This is the greatest thing that America ever seen, and it's observably not. He's just trying to sell it hard. Now, it's maybe a good thing, but it's not better than, oh, I don't know, something that maybe Kennedy did or whatever did in the past. And Trump isn't even looking that way. He's just putting superlatives. This is the greatest. This is the best. My followers are the most. Or, he's just being a over-the-top salesman about things. Some often dealing with himself as a person, but can also be in just generally America or what he sees things as positive. And you can even look at when Trump is in the past, like people that were on The Apprentice or whatever, talks really highly of them in cases and things. So he's just, trying to be a cheerleader, as it were. So some of the stuff is he's just being a cheerleader. So he oversays it. My crowds are the biggest crowds. And we go and look, yeah, no, observably they're not. But, he's pushing his viewpoint. And so I'm good with that. Just you got to understand that. And then 2, he's saying a lot of stuff off the top of his head without thinking about it. Okay? At a press conference, in an interview, or just tweeting, it's just sort of like an open stream of consciousness. Like I'm thinking about this. This could be good. And then people talk to him. Yeah, building a bridge over that river isn't really good because X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay, yeah. Having the connection would be good, but there's a bunch of other reasons why it would be bad. Oh, okay. Now he understands this one particular issue. So these people that get all excited. Okay, now the difference with Trudeau is that it's highly ideologically based, and he's thought about the stuff. So Trump's just thinking off the top of his head about things. And even if he were just to sit quietly in a room and think about it for 20 minutes alone, he would realize it's a bad idea. But it just popped, because we all have these ideas that pop into our head. And so Trump just, unlike most presidents, and probably presidents shouldn't do this, is just, give notion to ideas, without clearly thinking about them. But Trudeau thinks about them and also has their ideological base. So it doesn't matter if they're a good idea in reality or not. He doesn't care. He's just looking at promoting it. So, yeah, that's sort of the difference between the two. Now, of course, also, I dislike Trudeau's ideology, but I could say that there are, shall we say, libertarians or conservatives that have, in America or other places, have ideological strong points that they don't want to give up even in face of reality, though I may generally be on their side in the ideology, just they don't want to be flexible about things. We don't get that in our news. We only have news on our news. Trump is only on our news when it's something big, something's going on. When he canceled the WHO, when he wanted to buy Greenland. Well, buy Greenland was just sort of like, hey, maybe we should buy that place. That wouldn't be bad idea. Thought, it was just off the top of its head. And then people run around about it. And that's a very interesting case, because that was really, if you look at the context, it was just off the top of his head. But I don't know if they covered this in your news or in the general news media. I think it was President Truman or President Eisenhower. I can't swear to you which one it was, but either it was President Truman or President Eisenhower. I think it was Truman, a Democrat. Eisenhower was Republican. Obviously, you know General Eisenhower from World War II. You have returned, and I hope safely. Very good. And Brett's here. Good. Proposed and actually asked the Danish government if they would sell them Greenland. And this was at the time before the jet age really sort of took off. This was after World War II, but before the jet age took off, and they really were thinking of Greenland as a sort of a international airbase kind of thing for transatlantic flights. And so there was I think it was Truman, but it was either Truman or Eisenhower, that proposed to the Danish government to buy that. So this wasn't like, again, I'll say it was Trump just talking off the top of his head about it, but it wasn't like some crazy idea that only he had. It was something that our other serious presidents had in the past. Every human being makes mistakes. Trump is different. He has a bigger audience, yes, and he doesn't think about it. Hello, Brett. Trump also knows how to entice them. He's as we would call it in the modern sense, trolling. He is trolling the media, very much so. He is a big troll. That is part of his personality when he's going after somebody. Yeah, I understand about your internet, Brett. So, well, that a previous U.S. president thought or tried to buy Greenland, and Trump was talking, just basically saying, hey, it'd be nice to maybe buy that piece of land that belongs to Denmark, because Greenland isn't a country like Iceland is. And it would sort of be kind of smart for America to buy Greenland. It'd also be sort of kind of smart for Canada to buy Greenland. And I don't know what, if anything, that Denmark gets out of having as a strategical or economic resource. Denmark gets from Greenland. There's more green coming to Greenland with global warming, but we won't go into that right now. But what does it get out of it? Now, the Dutch owning Curacao and the other, I forget the other little island down here. They don't get a whole lot of it, but it is a tourist destination, so I presume it's probably a profitable colony. And probably a relatively nice place to live, though I hear it's very corrupt. Sort of a corrupt colony, in my understanding. So I sort of understand it from that sense of why the Dutch maintained that. And it really isn't, in my opinion, a viable country. Probably be swallowed up by Venezuela or something if it wasn't protected, and it probably doesn't have too much of a budget to really do. When I say it's probably a profitable colony, it probably is. But if you're doing big infrastructure projects, either it's going to take many years to repay it, or somebody like the Dutch or the Americans would have to pay for it. And fishing and mineral rights, yeah, I could see that. That's sort of maybe why America or Canada, because it's sort of obviously strategically located. But what it would do is complement the U.S. and or Alaska, but U.S. particularly, with part of the sort of polar strategic war would be overstating it, conflict with Russia over what's going on up in the polar regions. And it would probably be better for the world as a whole, probably. Obviously, we don't know what the future holds, but that it was a little bit more strongly held by somebody like the U.S., because Canada, quite honestly, can't hold anything strongly. I don't even know how much the Canadians would notice if we took over their country. Quite honestly, I don't know how much. I mean, obviously, it would make the news and everything, But if we sort of turned all their provinces into states, quite honestly, don't know how much it would change for them. With our federal system, they would still get to. I know we have a few Canadians here, but I really don't know how much they would notice if we just sort of accidentally took over Canada. Now they would notice if Russia takes over Canada, not necessarily some of the islands or northern polar positions, but having Greenland as a strategic situation clearly and firmly in the U.S. camp, I think would be a good thing, and not just. But as you point out very smartly, is fishing and mineral rights is a thing. Lots of methane gas, okay. Technically, it's not even Dutch anymore. More of an autonomous region with its own government, but it's still some Dutch control. Yeah, that would probably be why it's so corrupt, is because it's somewhat autonomous. Ice is on fire. Trust me, you can light it with a match. Okay, didn't know that about that being up there, the methane gas. You are already Jewish. You don't know it yet. Yeah, well. So yeah, it's just because we are such similar countries between Canada and the U.S. I understand there's differences. I understand the reason that Canada exists now is simply the Americans that won treated the losers very badly. Not as terribly as some cases, but really did force out the loyalists. Didn't allow them to adjust to staying in a independent U.S. And so the basic founders of Canada were Americans, but we're not, the U.S. Americans. So we're Canadians. We're those people, but we're not them. Sort of defining themselves by a negative, by we're not that, as opposed to what they really defining themselves as a positive. Is going to the same way with Suriname. Oh, it's going the same way as with Suriname. But I thought Suriname was entirely independent. Because I've sort of known some people that carried guns around Suriname for a while, I think occasionally shooting at people. Down there. Does the U.S. Constitution insist that all states have to be republics? Or our constitution? No, they would have to be a republic. We don't have in America any inheritable titles. They all have to. They can all have their own form of governments. Only one state has a unicameral house, meaning not all the rest of the states have a lower and upper house. So much of what our government was based upon Britain in the late 18th centuries without the titles. So they didn't have the inheritance of like the House of Lords. The idea was to sort of have a House of Lords, but have it individual merit, meaning somebody for some reason, normally success in life, but what type of that? Could be military, could be economic, could be whatever, would eventually become a senator, and and have to get reelected, so have to perform well. Often and start reelected by the legislature of that state and not necessarily popular vote, but would have to be elected so you could get rid of and you wouldn't have to get rid of him because he's corrupt or broken the law. You just go, we don't like what he's doing, we're voting in somebody new. So it was to try to sort of be a republic version, if you will, of Britain in the 18th century, seeing the flaws, and there are flaws with a republic, trust me, but there's also flaws with an inherited system, and so they were trying to get rid of the worst of the inherited with having the fewest problems of a democracy. So they were sort of the republic that was sort of, and knowing that if George Washington had a son, he would obviously be in line to run for president and probably be elected for president if he wanted to, but he would still have to do it on his own merits and couldn't be just a babbling idiot, or couldn't demand to do stuff that the Americans didn't want to do. So yeah, there is, trying to mitigate that. But so we don't specify what the exact state governments have to look like. But I do believe when you become a state, I don't know, when you're admitted to the states, they may have to approve, or when they're admitted as a state, it may be under a certain understanding of what the current government was. Yeah, that's something I have to look into a little bit more. And then Curacao, when it goes fully independent, like what they want, it will go the same way as Suriname. Well, Suriname is god awful, and at least for a while has been communist. We don't know if it still is. Got rid of the royals, the French, they say, your butt. Okay, Aero Engine research has advanced very nicely, and I believe it's grayed out, but we'll check. Yes, good. Okay, we're coming down into escorts. Here, looking at 36 and 37 technologies that become available. Yeah, Bassman and Sons. Yes, yes, yes. I just love that advertising. There's the sort of the insight of what it fully was, but just like, what does they say? This is truly the text here is my commentary. Now that you've joined the SS, you need a spiffy uniform to have people properly fear you. Without that, why join the SS? Assman and Son, Schoens, but yeah, Sons, can supply many of your uniform needs. Just the SS guy looking at his death skull cap, smiling. That was just, that advertisement just got me. Yeah, commentary down here. This is Suriname. What is it, Guyana, or the former British, and this is, of course, Guinea. Guinea-Bissau is over here. Oh, what's these sort of called? Whatever. The French are still part of metropolitan France, which has done the best. Colonialism works. Getting rid of colonialism doesn't necessarily improve your lives. I don't know if people really understood that yet. Now, I understand that political leaders want to get power for themselves, so they tell people things. But Guinea, yeah, okay, Guinea, yeah. So there's Guinea here, Suriname, and French Guinea. Yeah, a lot of these places aren't doing as well as, say, the Bahamas, which are still part of, or more of a commonwealth, I believe, than some of the others, and definitely like Bermuda and whatnot are, where Jamaica's independent. Yeah, things haven't gone so well for some of these minor nations. That, yeah, they've been more or less protected from, say, Cuba doing a direct invasion or something like that by the U.S., though, of course, Cuba has been messing with local politics around, and definitely sort of got the local politics to approve, which is Grenada is maybe too small. It didn't quite even make the map. Down here, that they sort of did a coup and then brought in the Cubans. Cubans. And so, yeah, we the U.S. and maybe to a lesser extent someplace like Britain, but have protected them from outright conquest by some of these people. And they would have been outright conquest if the U.S. hadn't protected them. Hey, was it the Russians or that had death heads first? Okay, death heads that you see in the Nazis, in the Panzers, which is a different skull. If you look at it, it's a different skull. You see on the black Panzer uniforms a different skull on their collars. That goes back to the old Hussar, but that goes back to the Napoleonic Wars primarily. One of the princely states, maybe Hessian. Oh man, before I get into these lectures, I should have notes. But was there that basically when Napoleon is reorganizing Europe, the prince takes his army, and it's a prince, as in it's a principality, it's a leader, takes his army and fights, basically marches and fights its way to the coast, and then gets picked up by the British Navy and hauled off, basically all of his army. Now, it's not a huge army, it's a few regiments strong. And if I'm not mistaken, was it there or maybe later in the peninsula, but I think it was on the fight out, he gets killed. And so one of the cavalry regiments that's associated with him, after he's killed, starts wearing all black as a uniform, as a European. In Asia, it's generally white is the mourning colors, where mourning for death is black. So they wear all black in mourning for their lost leader, and that comes about during the Napoleonic Wars, and they continue fighting, and they continue getting either recruits from home or just other Germans that are deserting from the Napoleonic armies that are German units, and keep fighting throughout the Napoleonic era. And although the one leader dies, doesn't mean that there aren't heirs to the principality. So that sort of black and the death heads primarily go to that in the German use. I'm not saying that you can't find examples earlier. There probably are. But that is sort of primarily look to the Napoleonic. And I think it's also around the Napoleonic, and I don't know when it was first done or who it is, but it's either the 17th or the 21st Lancers. I believe they're Lancers. But the 17th or 21st Cavalry unit, whether they're Lancers or not, but they become the Lancers. And the reason I know it's the 17th or the 21st is because they're omegated or put together, so it's 17th/21st. Uses a skull and crossbones with a fabric drapery below it, or whatever you want to call it. I forget the exact heraldic this says, or glory. So it's death or glory. So it's the skull and crossbones, and it's death or glory for themselves as their cap badge. And it's still, and I think the unit is no longer existing, but was definitely still around in World War II. So the British were using a death head unit badge, but it definitely had the or glory below it. So it means, we're riding to glory or death. So we're either going to be glorious or we're going to die. So that is the death's head as I understand and know it. Okay. But anyway, that's what's everyone's favorite tank? Well, the Panzer IV is a very good one, or an overall Tiger II. That's sort of at the end there. And that is my understanding of histories of Death's Head. Again, you can go back to the pirates type use, which obviously predates the skull and crossbones, but it wasn't quite as blatant as skull and crossbones at start. I have looked into the pirates too, but they definitely did use it. And there's probably earlier things too, but the main, those are in the sort of modern military usage. Those are the two that I know of. Okay, the NSFK, which is the National Socialist Flieger Corps, founded in 1937. And this is also to some degree a breaking away from the SA, but setting this up as a paramilitary air enthusiast organization that will continue to the end of the National Socialist regime. I'm looking at the metal. That's not unreasonable. Now, of course, we're doing really well with metal now, but I'm still looking at not wanting to overdo the metal, but lots of supplies. And we'll talk about organizing the Reich research later on, but get you at 1%. bonus to the research. So you can look up some of that on Wikipedia to get some of the details. It's fascinating. I've been reading, or have in the past, and I'm sort of in the middle of reading the history of the Peninsula Wars. During the Napoleonic Wars, the British fighting Napoleon and whatnot down there. Okay, air-launched torpedoes have advanced. Very good. 700 bombs, yes, and we'll stop that because it's 39. We're still going through escorts, looking for 34. Let's do that. Okay, well, we're going to keep the live stream going, but we're going to end this episode for YouTube. So again, I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks for liking the videos, and I'd love to hear your comments on things. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. Okay, I think I've got one more episode in me today. I hope you will all stay around for it, and we'll be starting that right now. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing look at how well Third Reich Events is doing with Black Ice. So we're going to continue this. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. You could hit that like button at any time. If it really gets bad, you can always unhit it and hit the negative one, but I would appreciate if you do dislike a video, just tell me why. Just put a comment. I dislike the video because I'm rambling too much, or whatever it might be. It just gives me feedback. I am quite honestly, dislikes. You can just give me the feedback without the dislike, but I get dislikes, and a lot of people, and I know there is a churn over people, coming and going from YouTube channels. It's fine, but I always like the feedback of why you're leaving. I just want to know. It may or may not change my behavior, but it would be interesting to know. Twin engine airframe research has advanced. That would be over here, and that's grayed out. Good. Wing aerodynamics, which I don't think is grayed out, and I think that's what is pushing too far forward. So we're going to come down here. Okay, transports are 38. I don't know how much I want to do of these things, but definitely the damage control and fire control computers are things that will upgrade on other models over time. So, I don't know. Goer Deller, Dr. Goer Deller, he resigns as mayor as a protest against Nazis, and lose a little bit of national unity and gain a little bit of dissent. Not just because he was mayor of Leipzig, fairly popular, I believe, but not just because he's resigning, but just representing the effect is those that are displeased with the way the National Socialist regime is going. And because of things, we have more research we can do. We're staying away from carriers just because. Not that I hate carriers or anything, it's just I don't know that I'm planning on. Not fighting major naval battles with major naval powers. So we're avoiding that, and we're often going to be fighting. No hockey, James is going crazy. Well, I hear you. Very good, James. Yeah, hopefully history will be keep you from going too crazy. I know it doesn't entirely replace sport for many people. Tried last night, but the file came out as an unzip. Any advice? Get the file to I would say unRR it or unzip it. WinRR, WIN RAR, WinRAR. It's a good file, and it basically unzips it. and it's good. And that's what I normally use as my standard instead of paying for the paying for WinZip or whatever zip. Yes, we'll give you energy for money. Yes, we'll give you energy for money. So yeah, it's functionally like a zip file, but I know I sort of use some of that just because I don't have zip, and I just sort of do that. And it's a free to use program, and I don't know whether they just exist on donations and they're not a major company. It's just one of those basic utilities, and we would just colloquially unzip it, just that kind of thing. Oh, and WinRR will deal with at least most zip files just fine too. So it will do the zip, or at least unzip zip files. So you don't have to do that. Okay, it's artillery unit organization advance, which is down here, operation here, 38. Okay, we will shift that to armor unit control. What is Arno saying? Please build at least one carrier. Historically, Germans technically had it. Yeah, we have it here. I don't know that we're going to get through the production of the Graf Zeppelin in this playthrough, but we have it here. I just don't know that we're going to play long enough to get there. Move the Tirpitz down. But we'll be increasing some more land units soon. Nope, we're not. That went off. There we go. He has brains. Well, good. At least somebody has brains in your family. Railroad networks. And naval bomber prototypes have advanced. Very good. I think that's going to be grayed out. Yep. Operational technology. So we're going to do reconnaissance. Just about every division will have reconnaissance units. And we have a decision that we can make. Railway level 2. Yes. Social Austria. Okay, so yeah. We're probably not going to push. Try to get Austria in early. Yes, railway network, superior strength. Allow firepower focus, and that is here. Okay, well that's a 1940, so we're not going to do that yet. Yeah, okay, all looking good there. And let's do Special Forces Combined Arms and Flying Boat Prototype. Also completed. I like my flying boats. I like my naval air. I prefer that over actually trying to have a navy, or Germany at least. And this is for Germany. Different countries have different priorities. We'll do submarine armament. Went out, yippee. Yeah, I hear you, Brett. Bricklayer stonemason. Is that your brother or you? Seaport capabilities have advanced. See here. Okay, I think we're going to start looking at some of these, and we're going to start here. I know this is a little early. We're getting down to some of these other ones, which we're going to continue to do. We're going to start with the one that's going to take the longest at 12. And start researching that for improving rare mineral production. Wasn't there a prince elector in Prussia who had a regiment of giants or something like that? Okay, what you're thinking of is Frederick the Great did form a regiment that I don't think was necessarily terribly good. I don't know that it was bad or whatever, but he did try to scour at least sort of Germany for some of the tallest men capable in it to sort of be a fearsome appearing unit. Okay, don't even try to pronounce that. Advance. Oh, here. Okay, 39, so we're stopping that. Good. Mountain unit training. Is that down here too? Yes, okay, and it's a 37, so we'll continue that. But we need to replace the other. We'll do military police. And so there was a unit made up, and there was sort of a bounty of maybe yellows. No, your trade. Oh, okay. Stonemason seems to have some particular talent. Not that bricklaying doesn't. I mean, you can do obviously a simple paving job versus trying to create an arch with bricks or something that would be a bit more complicated, a bit more stuff, a bit more talent to it. And if you look at particularly, I don't know that anybody's really hardly doing any of these things today, but like Tudor palaces or great houses in England, in which both just the design on the side of a wall with the brick artwork, or some of the brick chimneys, the way that they're very artistically done with bricks, is a bit of a thing where, you know, of course, stonemasons are carvers, and that is a bit of a real sort of talent. Tired my little bro is the computer nerd, right? Okay. Discrimination reports that the SDP is creating in Czechoslovakia to try to justify their need to break away from Czech governance. Morgan Friedman's birth. You play black eyes, yes, whatever. I wouldn't put that in there, just it breaks immersion. Not that it's a bad event. Okay, begin the Great Officer Purge. Yes, the Soviet Union doing what it can to destroy itself. Airport capabilities have advanced. Okay, let's take a quick look. Yeah, we're gonna stop that and move that over to, well, 12, so it'll take a while to do that. And light bomber. That's also grayed out. So we'll move that to oil refining. What do we still have? Defensive positions. Okay. That's probably too big to show up on the display. Whatever defensive positions are down here. And we'll move that also over here. Coal to oil conversion. That's another good one that we'll want to have well up on, like prototypes. Air bases for West Germany. Yes. I wonder if they would have called it West Germany or Western Germany, because West Germany definitely, to me, talks about the country of West Germany as opposed to East Germany, or, you know, that's what it was at least popularly called. Like we have West Virginia that used to just be Western Virginia. But now that it's a state, it's West Virginia. If you want mad skills with bricks, then take a look at the skewer brick arch railway bridges. Okay. Skewed arch brick railways. Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, so yeah, you can be really talented with bricks. Airport levels. Okay. Artillery unit command and control. Very nice. Okay. And push it. One of the reasons I'm pushing ahead here first is, as opposed to, say, pushing into 38 technologies down here, because I don't plan on using any of these troops in 1938 or maybe by late 1939, maybe. So pushing the technology sooner here in my opinion, doesn't benefit me. But pushing some of this technology sooner does benefit me because it will give, better production capabilities. So I would prefer to do this first if we're pushing ahead of time. Okay, Deutsches Kraftkart. This is the NSKK magazine. And just also an announcement, we have now that IKB has got his new computer, we're going to set up, hopefully sometime maybe in this coming week, but sometime that we will do a joint sort of, I don't know if playthrough is the right term, but joint work on with the game Railway Empire, looking at the railway development in Britain, with a lot of historical interesting facts and details, and hopefully be interesting more than just watching somebody play the game. Love seeing people streaming this game. Okay, thank you. Heelsink, I don't know. Hopefully I'm not butchering that too badly. Thank you. I haven't at least noticed you around before. You can also follow me here and subscribe over on my YouTube channel if you want to. You can just scroll down. There's a link to it. Okay, artillery unit combined arms advance. Okay, well that's just a 36, so we'll keep running with that. Okay, now this is sort of what we've been playing for. I'm going to make a note of this. Maybe I should have done some of the other notes earlier, but use this piece of paper. Make sure that I thought I had, but I didn't think it would affect this, but okay, I'll go in and make sure that, because the spies, it must be spies everywhere, I believe, is mine. And this is Black Ice. You can see that they are very similar. This is one of the things I want to make sure that, and this is why the update sort of needs to be done. Not that this is terrible, but we're going to get double effects, mostly negative. So yeah. And so I hope you guys would enjoy learning about railroads. Led Zeppelin? I don't know. Oh, yes. The album cover and whatnot from the Hindenburg. Absolutely, yes. First, I didn't quite get that. Culture versus man. How you doing? What's in the Axis and Allies? Oh, okay. Yes, I've liked that game, the new computer game. I'm going to play another series of it. I did win the last one. I like those games too. I like these more complicated games more, but I also like the nice sort of fun, simple game of Axis and Allies 42. That's good. Okay. The Mercedes-Benz company, they built like 30 of these cars. Obviously, there's 4 of them all in the row. That's actually a modern picture of the King of Spain's car that was given to Franco. And the royal family inherited it basically from Franco. That I sort of gray toned out. It's a nice example of the car, and there it is with 2 machine guns mounted on it. Mercedes, it just sort of interests me, and this is sort of cool going back from one of the surviving ones was used in the Hogan's Heroes series as a prop car driving around. They didn't damage it or anything, just drove it around. So I remember it from a kid, so it sort of fascinates me. Sort of an overbuilt German idea of a staff car that's, off-road capable. Rather good, but also rather expensive. So that's why the German army never adopted it. I mean, they got a few of them, or somebody got a few of them and gave them to the army. I don't know. And I think Hitler bought one for himself that was most of Hitler's Mercedes-Benz, and he was sort of personally involved in ordering some of his, including leading up to power. Most of them were just the 2-axle, not the 3-axle versions. Though I do believe he had one of these, maybe two. I don't know, but not many. Most weren't his. Most, and if you carefully look at his things, his cars, even into the war period, it's just a 2-axle version of a Mercedes car. Basically, what this does is it costs you a fair amount. If you want to do it, gives you a little bit of tech bonus and gives you an industrial capacity. It basically represents expansion there, but it also gives you 5,000 research in a tech that will slightly, you don't see that, you can't look at research the tech, but will slightly increase the speed of a standard generated, not a one of these sort of standard HQ things, not a specially HQ. So the standard HQs will move just a little bit better if you want to invest in better staff cars for your HQ. Have you tried? Well, Panzer General, the original Panzer General I played. I've been playing Panzer Corps 2 on my channel, as I think you know, OCB. But yeah, no, the original Panzer General. I played the hell out of that game when it first came out. World War One, yeah, that could be a good game. I don't know how well I would interpret World War One, because World War One was at least on the borders of a rather static game or static war compared to what for Axis and Allies to do that well. Don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad game, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get it or anything like that. But I just don't know how well that mechanic would work. Where Risk is sort of vaguely, very vaguely, obviously, sort of like a Napoleonic era kind of game and moving your units around, and that does sort of kind of represent what was going on then. And Axis and Allies, taking over France or taking over, Poland or the Ukraine or something big sort of thing. That sort of works. I just don't know how World War One and the stalemate nature, the attritional nature of that war would work with the Axis and Allies type engine. Idea to make a... Oh, IKB could do a nice let's play on something like Railway Empire. Hello, Chaos. How you doing? Don't have time to do the editing. Well, I don't edit anything myself, so which may be a problem why I'm not getting as many viewers, but I just make them and put them up there. Might have asked this before, but I can't remember. But in HoI 2, there was a mod I loved very much called Realism or something like that. Are you thinking historical plausibility mod or something like that? Historically plausible, whatever. Maybe. I've not played Hearts of Iron 2, so I can't really comment. If it's in reasonably good taste, I would like a World War II joke. That would be fine. Because you definitely can get something that's not in good taste that we wouldn't appreciate. Okay. Yes, Ford Werk AG. Ford Motor Company, as well as Ford himself, was heavily invested in Germany, and this gives us a chance to increase foreign investment in Germany, or we can decline it. I would generally go with it. It was a good idea. And what tech did we just get? Okay, the A one that I have trouble pronouncing. Here. Okay, we're going to stop that. Come back up to industrial. Yeah, we might as well do coal processing now. Hiroshima was kind of hot. Okay, yeah. Yes, you could say that about any bombed city. You're going to take the time, I guess, with me to make one. Don't know how much. Obviously, it'd be more. Other than simply making more, but yeah. Okay, direct unit. Fired. Okay, and we're going to stop that and move it over to an industry. Industrial supply production. Ooh, that's nice. Ammunition production. Now see here, which I think is sort of Count Blue's sort of problem when I was asking him and trying to just get general feedback on why people don't want to play the versions of Black Ice after 9.11. One of course, is a major thing is all the sub mods, including Third Reich events, but is all the techs. So, okay, additional supply production, plus 25% on supplies, which, yeah, okay. Additional ammunition production, plus 37%, and obviously it's already getting some. And just that would be the increase. And plus military rations production. One, I'm not sure how technology is increasing any of these. Military ration production. Now, the U.S. was, I would have to say, in all my experience, the most advanced at making military rations in the sense of, sort of combat rations that are made in the U.S., put in a box. Often there's like tin cans and whatnot in there, and shipped around the globe that were edible straight out of the things. You don't have to heat anything. A lot of the tin canned and other things taste better heated, but if you're, in the jungle and you're sort of starving and making a fire is either, I don't know if impossible is the right word, term, but either very difficult or giving your position away. So you're hungry and you're just going to chow down on whatever's in that can because you're that hungry. Or, like I say, it's just hard to start a fire in the desert or something like that. You can't easily do that. So ready to eat rations wherever in the world, the U.S., in my opinion, is the best. Britain does it moderately well, but and I'm not an expert on all the nations. Germany does have some of that, I believe, but not very well. I don't think the Soviets do it well at all. I'm not saying they don't have tin cans of things that go up to troops, but for either the Germans or the Soviets. But the Germans are still sort of, throughout most of World War II, given bread that's baked. They bake breads and loaves and hand them out to the troops to sort of eat for a few days in World War II. And they were baked in field kitchens. Now, the U.S. definitely baked bread in field kitchens during World War II. They definitely, and you can see them in some of the movies that do good jobs at showing what it was like in World War II, in which they're showing up to like a truck or a trailer or whatever, and sometimes they're a special built truck, sometimes they're just a standard truck, and I've sort of looked into this, in which they have a stove unit that is modular. They often had like 3 stove units in one truck. The Germans had a modular stove unit too that was meant to be a towed wagon that they often just took the wheels off and stuck it in the back of the truck. But these modular units that could be sat, maybe bolted down in the back of a truck, but could be taken out and put in the on the ground or moved to another truck or something. modular units that I think were primarily fueled by gasoline, meaning they were set up for gasoline fire base. Because hey, the U.S. has so much gasoline, we'll just use it to cook our food as everything else. Where the Germans, of course, couldn't do that. Not at all. They've got to burn wood or something, or coal or whatever to cook their food. So the just again, and IKB and I were talking just the other day, earlier this week, about U.S. production capability. Just think, Germany and other countries are starving for fuel. The Americans, yeah, we'll just use it to cook all of our food too. That's how flush we were with gasoline, and not just that we had the gasoline, but that we were getting it to the most remote parts of the world. Jungles in Burma or whatever. So we were not only had the gasoline, we were getting it everywhere efficiently to also cook our food as well as to run our airplanes, and we had higher octane fuel than the Germans were able to do because of technology. Partially just the Germans knew some of the technology, not all of it, but they didn't have the capability of producing enough of the high octane fuel. Even what they had, they could technically know how to do, but couldn't produce enough of it. Just not, and for the high quality, if my understanding is correct, partially it's the grade or the source of the fuel, which could also be coming from liquefaction, but also just the sort of right fuel plants to make the super high octane fuel. They didn't have much of that. So just talking about production capabilities. So the U.S. definitely was taking, shall we say, sides of uncooked beef in the fields in North Africa or wherever, and making meals for the soldiers. And we're definitely taking wheat and baking bread for soldiers in the field. But they were also passing out, C rations and other lettered rations that put out there as well. So the U.S. is definitely the best of that, and that is definitely a technological thing. But I don't know, and definitely you could have technology. I don't know about what is supplies if it isn't ammunition. What is it? Belt buckles or belts? Are you making that for? See, this is gamer analyzing mods, and I understand what military rations are. I don't know what this technology is supposed to represent, that it increases supply production. So I presume this isn't simply more food production, which we sort of have in the game by here by increasing manpower, meaning more efficient. I take agricultural improvements as reducing the required manpower to produce X amount of food, So more tractors, more whatever, and sort of represented here by a technology, but better industrialization, better food production that produces more food for less manpower. So we get more manpower. So I get that. Not a perfect, because better agricultural technology may mean a reduction in factories, because you're making tractors and mechanical plows to go on the back of tractors, or harvesting equipment to go on the back of tractors, instead of making tanks or trucks for the army or whatever, and including trucks for the farms, which is definitely something that's going on in America before the war and during the war. They were putting more and more trucks out on farms to do this. So, not only are they making military trucks, they're making farm trucks in America. So I don't know what military ration production this is. I don't get this. Now, supplies. Yes, there's more supplies than simply ammo. But I would take supplies to mostly being food, which is sort of a constant supply that soldiers need in garrison or need in combat. And sure, they'll burn a little more calories in combat, just because it is a little bit more and forced marches in combat. But still, training is going to burn a lot of calories. So you're going to eat, and if you're going to feed your army well, you're going to feed your army about the same in peacetime as in wartime, if you can. So supply. So and then training. You're going to shoot some artillery shells. You're going to shoot some rifle and machine gun bullets in training, but you can do a lot of training. And if we're talking non-motorized units, you can do a lot of training. So you're not talking fuel in that part of the training because you're just, you know, training, you know, fire and movement training, but without, because you don't want to accidentally shoot your own soldiers. You're just doing it without firing anything. So training doesn't use quite as much ammo, obviously, but would use some. So you would consume some ammo in peacetime training. So static units that even in, whether in war and peace would be eating and would be doing a certain amount of training. So they would burn supply. But then there are other supplies. How much of that in this game supplies is simply replacement equipment, which does get worn out in peacetime? Yeah, okay. And boots are a thing that will get, you know, worn out, and uniforms that will get worn out in replacements. So I get that those are different. Yeah, so I get some of this, but I don't really know why you're breaking these out. Why you're not. How does this benefit the game, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is to have these three things. Because either you are a major, like Germany, and you're going to research all of these, or you are maybe, and I haven't played the Soviet Union, but a distressed major that you need to, or something like China or whatever, but China really isn't a major power, that you're going to focus on, like we're ignoring carrier technology here. If I was Japan, I would not be ignoring carrier technology. If I was Russia, I would be ignoring carrier technology entirely, just because it does not benefit Russia unless you're doing world conquest Russia and you're going to eventually go after the US, and you can just wait till that time comes. And so you may have to more, you know, focus on just one of these. And so, but if you're a minor like Yugoslavia or Spain or something like that, but I still don't understand how you wouldn't just have more levels or something. I don't get how this helps. And I'm going to look at the chat to see if any of you have any ideas on how this helps. Does this make this better game somehow? So, you know much about it. How did the Germans win the war? Oh, I don't know. Is it sort of like a? I love all the text. Give me more units, more fun. I'll have basically the more of everything is bad. Okay, and that isn't a bad idea, and it's more immersion, and I'm just trying to balance out with, because I do look at this as a design from a game designer's viewpoint. I'm not complaining about this. I hope this doesn't come out as a complaint. It's just more of a why. How does this? If you just want more tech. Now, see, where if we're looking at idea of like superchargers and air cooling and controllable pitch radar propellers, those are an attack. Those, and especially with this sort of, as opposed to having a specific model, which I actually like Black Ice Hearts of Iron 4 models better, in that you're researching more the historical models of aircraft and things and tanks and whatnot per nation. And then you could definitely have some of these techs as a precursor to one of the technologies that they have. You know, you got to have controllable pitch propellers, I don't know, to be able to do 109s, if that's what they had. I have no idea what they had for their. I understand what controllable pitch for the propellers, but I don't know which aircraft had it and didn't. And I can see this as a benefit. So I can see these and more immersion and more of these, whether they're as just a general additive. And so nations that can afford researching these things will have better aircraft. The nations that can't. But then, of course, which is a problem with this game, is I can't just give, say, Hungary or Romania German-built aircraft. That's sort of a problem, and it's not easy for me to just give up the technology to them so that their ICs produce the aircraft. So again, I think this is a better game currently than Hearts of Iron 4, but because of equipment production, because of whether it's giving outdated equipment to Romania or giving them your newest equipment to Romania as Germany, it has potential of being a much better game. It has that potential. It just isn't there yet, but it certainly has the potential of being a better game. So yeah, and partially is it, well, I guess they do different amounts, but it's the same research difficulty. It's not, I'm not complaining about this, but I understand why somebody is sort of going, hey, it just get overwhelming. I do understand that. Okay. Answer, they didn't have controllable pitch. Okay, yeah, I don't know aircraft that well. I've watched the Wings of the Luftwaffe, and I think I've series highly recommend it. I think you might be able to find it on YouTube or some other source, but a series Wings of the Luftwaffe is really good. But just Wings, sometimes it's Wings of Vietnam or Wings of the Soviet Union or whatever. The Wings series is very good. I've watched them all. I just don't necessarily retain all that information. Okay, demonstration of the Ritter or Reiter SA, and there's multiples of them going on. But to the public, something that you don't often hear about outside of third rank events. And here's another thing sort of goes along with that, is that they would do sort of like 160 millimeter, or not millimeter, 160 kilometer ride, across parts of Germany as sort of a demonstration of and training. Do they have all their stuff together to be able to effectively go out, ride and march, and they're not marching, but they're riding and camping and taking care of their horses in the field and maintaining them and coming back. And this is sort of doing that. So it's costing us supplies. Air liaison advance, very nice. That is down here. Okay, we're going to stop that. Move it over to industry. Great, thanks, Arno. I highly recommend the series if you're at all interested in. Okay, we have even larger, and so what we're going to do here is I want to more quickly get down some of the descent that we built up, and part of that descent was that double hit from the Hindenburg that you should not have in your game. Something in researching things, there was a major and you see the seaplanes there on cradles to get them on land, but there was up here in this area, there was a major seaplane base that worked for overseas going, no, and sort of here because it was calm water location, but going up and around the Baltic, but also going out other places, and even theoretically over eventually to the U.S. or well, over to the Americas, North and South America. So we can build this. Sort of looking at this, okay. Yeah, we can afford the metal isn't too big because we also, you see that Lübeck text. Okay, so we can here, okay, already has some airbase there, so we can expand it because I think I did put that in TRE start. We can expand it, and this is also airfield, the East Stella here available. It was the it was an airfield and test site for testing and developing new stuff. So that's part of, you can see the flying boat technology gain. So that's partially some of the metal is looking at like test models of aircraft, I think, and supplies. So yeah, we'll do that. And so you see it pumped into that. in production, but you can see it's sort of like there, so we're moving to the top. So you get 2 more air bases there, here. There was already some, we're expanding it to make that a major air operations base for flying boats. But, oh, and as you could see, and there's, looked at the picture, can't go back to it, obviously. Thanks, Arno, for putting it in both places. There are also conventional runways as part of the airbase, not just water. Fire unit. And we'll stop that. And we'll come down to this. You can see the name thing does sort of kind of cover things up, but you can pull it out a little bit. It goes on. I like that they've done the names. Mobile Unit Training Advanced. Okay, yeah, number 38 technology. We'll get to those either in 38 or whatever, but first, we want to do all these, but we want to do these kinds of things first. And either you get to live with the descent, which does sort of hurt some of your production, or you can put in the more consumer goods to bring it down faster. Okay, we've lost that agreement. Okay, well, I think we're going to bring this episode to an end here. And maybe the live stream, I think, as well, shortly at least. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the video, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think we're going to bring the live stream to an end. My voice could use a break. I will be streaming tomorrow. You're all welcome to join in, and if we get enough, we will play Custom Battles and War Thunder. Or if it's just 4 or 5 of us, if it gets more than 4, but not enough for a custom battle, we'll just sort of rotate through players. For War Thunder Sunday, we'll do that. I believe it's Wednesday. I'm supposed to be streaming more Order of Battle Red Steel for Slytherin, so you can catch me over on Slytherin then. And of course, we'll be back next week. I'm not sure next week what I'll be streaming on Saturday. Probably a strategy game, maybe Hearts of Iron 4. I don't think I'm going to continue this. I think I'm going to, after a little bit of tweaking and checking a few things that I made some notes on here, maybe Heroes and Generals. That's a possibility too. If people want to play that more, since I'm no longer grinding, at least to try to make a major achievement like I was to get the vehicles for the last big War Thunder event, I'm definitely open to playing Heroes and Generals. So yeah, we can ask around, or both. It's both kind of thing. Okay, James, yeah, well, I'm ending it too, so go have a good dinner. What about next Saturday? Yeah, well, I don't know that I'm going to continue this. I don't know that there's, obviously testing is good, but I think once I release it to the public, people will play it faster and give me back feedback, finding any bugs or double events or whatnot. I'm not planning on making my next big series as a live stream. So probably Hearts of Iron 4 is in it, but it's a possibility if I don't. One of the reasons I did this as live is just because I was waiting for more of the mods, whether Black Ice or any of the other mods. NSIG, Aries talked a lot of good things about it. for Hearts of Iron 4. I'm hoping that they are gotten through and updated to the latest version of Hearts of Iron 4 so that play that or something like that. I've sort of was waiting for that to happen and doing this in the meantime that I hoped was entertaining. Yeah, people love it, but there's reasons, and I'll go into them sometime with you a bit later, why I think I want to do it just as a YouTube period series and not a live stream and then later put it up. But that's more tactical, so we'll talk about that offline a bit. Okay, thanks everyone so much. I really do appreciate you all being here. You don't know how much it means to me. Thanks everyone. See you next time.